Okay, so in a previous video, I talked about the steps for changing a mindset, and I went over 15 steps and 3 phases on how to change your mindset over time. I want to revisit that and just go into a little bit more detail on one of the phases, the introspective phase. So, in the first phase, I said the first step is recognizing the desire for change. And the second step, recognizing the need for change. So, those are the most crucial of the introspective phase. So, how do you recognize that? Well, today I'm going to run you through some questions to ask yourself in order to really get yourself deep within to see what it is you need to change. These are the questions to ask yourself in order to get from step 1 to step 2. Let's look at it like that. So the first question is the simplest, but it's also very hard to narrow down. And it's, what do I want? Where am I? Am I in a shitty relationship? Am I dealing with shitty finances? What do I want? I want a better relationship. I want better financial knowledge, better financial understanding. I want to be rich, because most people do. What do I want? And when you can narrow that down with a general idea, it doesn't have to be specific, but give yourself a general idea. What do I want? That's the first question. Then ask yourself, and the key here, before I go on, the key here is to be brutally honest with yourself. And I mean, like, brutally fucking honest. If you don't know what it is that you want, then stop there until you figure it out. Don't bullshit yourself. Don't try to work around and feel your way through. No. If you don't know, stop. Just tell yourself, I don't know what I want. Okay. Then you come back to it later. You do some soul searching. Ask yourself, ponder on that question, what do I want? Because that's the most important question of them all. It's where it starts. Once you have an answer to that, the next question to ask is, if I got what I wanted right here, right now, how would it impact my life? For the good and for the bad. What are the pros and the cons of, if I got what I wanted right here, right now, in this moment, how would it impact my life? And this is another question that's going to take some time to think about, because you need to look at all the options, all the consequences of, if you were to get exactly what you wanted, what you say you want, here and now, right at that moment. The next question would be, who else would be affected by me getting what I want if I got it here and now? Who else is going to be affected by this? If I suddenly became rich, Who else is going to be affected by that? Literally everyone you know around you. And it may happen in ways that you don't even think about originally. But this is what this process of questioning is there to do. Okay? The next question would be, if I got what I wanted right now, does it fit into my goals? My long-term goals, not today, tomorrow, next week. I mean 10 years from now, 20 years from now. If I suddenly became rich, would I still have it 10, 20 years from now? Most people don't, because they don't know how to manage that in the first place. So that's something that you have to consider. The next question is, will getting what I want make me happy? Is it going to make me happy? And why or why not? Because getting what you want may not necessarily make you happy. In fact, it probably won't. If you are not happy beforehand, you're not going to be happy afterwards, regardless of your situation. And I'm going to say that again. If you are not happy before you get what you want, you will not be happy after you get what you want. Because these are wants. These are desires. These are not necessarily what you need. And that'll be a video all on its own. If I didn't get this is the next question. If I didn't get this desire, what would happen? What would be the result if you never got it at all? Would you remain unhappy? Could you be happy anyways if you didn't get it? What would happen if it never came to pass at all? Next question is, and this is an important one, am I willing to put in the work? In order to get what you want, it's not just gonna fucking come to you. No, you gotta bust your ass hard. And you gotta be honest with yourself as to whether or not you're willing to put in the work. There are a lot of things that I want in life that I know that I would love to have, but at the same time, I can acknowledge that I don't want to fucking do the work for it. That's okay. I understand that. And I acknowledge that. Could that change? Yeah, maybe. Depends on how much I want it. And the same for anything else. If you really, really want it, you'll get it. Because you'll put in the work to get it. No matter how much work it is, if it's something that you truly, right here, truly want, no matter how hard it may be, you will put in the work in order to achieve that goal. So you have to ask yourself, am I willing to put in the work? Am I willing to brave the hard times when this shit gets difficult? And it will get difficult. It will get difficult. Am I willing to put in the work in order to make that dream a reality. Next question is it worth it? Is it worth it? In the end, 20 years from now, down the line, if I look back and I've achieved what I've wanted to achieve, was it worth the pain and the work that I had to put in order to achieve it? Is it worth losing everything potentially in order to make that goal a reality? Is it worth losing half your friends because you found a pathway of self-development and you've split from what you used to be? Okay, that's personal for me. I'm gonna be real with you. That's a personal one for me. In this process of self-development, there have been so many ties and connections that I've had to sever because I no longer am the same person that I used to be. I'm not even close to the same person that I used to be. And friends that I've had in the past, we've split. I've got one friend that won't even talk to me because, and not for any major argument, but simply because we don't see eye to eye on some things. He's on his own journey, I'm on mine. Am I going to stress about that? No. Because he's on, like I said, he's on his journey, I'm on mine. And if our paths cross again, great. And that's not the only one. I've got several friends and even family that we're in the same situation. But is it worth it? Is my mental sanity and my mental clarity worth losing those connections? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I have peace. I have peace here, and I have peace here. Something I never had before. So is it worth it to go after that want, that need, that desire? That's something you have to ask yourself. And you have to ask yourself constantly, is it worth it? Throughout the journey, is it worth it? The next question is, why don't I already have this? Why is this something that's already not in my life? Why don't I have it already? Well, that's going to require some hard looking. And it's going to require some brutal honesty with yourself. Next question is this something new? Or is it ongoing? Is this something that I suddenly want within the last few months to a year? Or is this something that I've never had throughout my entire life? Is this something that I've wanted throughout my entire life? Okay? And again, that's something that you have to be brutally honest with and really, really dig into. And look at some of the overarching feelings of your life. Okay? For me, growing up as an only child and struggling in school, always being the one that was misunderstood by not only people at school, people just in life, but even at home. The big one for me was loneliness. Always loneliness. Like, that has been the grand theme in my life ever since I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. I can remember just being lonely. So the want of companionship and friendship, close friendship, is something that I've always wanted. It's an ongoing thing. Next question is, and this is a big one, am I doing anything to perpetuate this lack? If I've always struggled financially, what am I doing to perpetuate that lack of money? What are my spending habits? What are my saving habits? What do I understand about personal finance? All of those factor in. And all of those perpetuate that lack of finances. See what I mean? What am I doing to perpetuate that lack? And that rolls into, that kind of rolls into the next question, actually. Is that a part of something bigger? Why am I lacking the knowledge for these finances? Nothing's stopping me from going out and getting it. So why haven't I? Why is it that I've grown up without a need for the not a need, but the want for understanding of those personal finances, even though I've grown up dirt poor? That's the kind of questions you have to ask yourself. What is the bigger picture here? Why do I do what I do? And I've said that in quite a few videos. Know why you do what you do. And this is how you get to it right there. And the last major question is, what needs to change before I can make this want a reality? Okay? And I'll give you an example. About a year and a half ago, I had the idea for a startup company. And it was something that I'm not going to go into detail with, because one day I may actually go ahead and do it. But it was that idea that hammered home to me that I did not have the understanding of personal finance that I needed in order to make it a reality. Not only the personal finance, but a lot of things across the board that I did not understand in order to make it a reality. And so, when I had this idea, it was a big one. And I mean, like, it was a tech-based company, sort of a social media thing. I mean, I really don't like social media, but it is an important part of our culture. And looking at the potential, it has massive potential to go far with the right technology, which the technology that it is based upon is just in the infancy stages right now. So looking at this, I was like, wow, this has such amazing potential. But I personally don't have the knowledge in order to make this a reality. Not only do I have the not have the knowledge tech-wise, I don't have programming experience, or I'm not computer savvy. I'm not. I'm really not. I can upload videos to YouTube, post on social media, and that's about it. But in realizing that, I realized that if I wanted to make this thing a reality, I would need to change everything about myself. Not just what I know of tech stuff, but what I know of business, what I know of personal finance. And I began looking into all of those. And I realized that this issue goes much, 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 much deeper than I just don't know those three things. Because I didn't know myself. And so it became this spiral of looking deeper and deeper and deeper. And that idea was part of what led me to where I am today. It was the catalyst almost for a much greater change, the change I call my awakening. That was the initial catalyst for that, and it began with just a simple idea, and then a few nights later, this incredibly huge awakening and expansion of my own perception. But that's a different story, and one I've already told, so I'm not going to go into it anymore. But I recognize that in order to make that want a reality, I needed to change everything that I thought I knew. I needed to change who I was. And I'm still doing that. And I will continue to do that. For as long as I live, I will continue to grow into that. Looking back at it, and where I am now, that company, that startup idea that had so much potential, yes, it still has potential. And yes, a part of me still wants to do it. But I've come to understand that that's not what was important. What was truly, truly important was the growth that change brought about, that idea brought about. And I never could have imagined the heights that simple moment of recognizing that other things needed to change first. Recognizing, to quote, I want to say it's Morgan Freeman on Lean on Me, that you're still a baby and you don't know shit. That was my moment where I recognized that and realized that before I could make this a reality, all of this needs to change first. So, those are the questions that you need to ask yourself in order to break out of that dream stage. Okay? And all of that was going back to the steps on changing a mindset. All of that was step one. This video is going on 26 minutes as I speak. All of that was step one, and maybe a little step two, but most of that is just recognizing the want for change. Okay? That last question, is this something, what else needs to change? That's going into step two, is recognizing the need for all of that to change first before you can make everything else happen. Before you can plant a tree, you need to till the soil. You need to make sure that the soil, it has nutrients. You need to make sure it's watered. You need to make sure it's healthy. And only then can the tree grow from a seed. That, all of that, this entire video was just step one. But it's crucial to know where it all comes from. And once you've answered all those questions, and you've gotten to the point where you can say, okay, well, does something else need to change in order to get where I want to go? Come back to that first question. Seriously. Once you've gotten all of it worked out, and you've sat with it, and you've gotten deep inside yourself and figured out what you want and where you want to go, come back to that first question. What do I want? What do I really want? What do I really, really, really want? You'll be surprised to find that the answer's a little different. It's not going to be the same as it was when you first asked yourself, what do I want? Because now you've refined it. You've stripped all the superficial shit away from that desire. And now you're back at the core of it. What do I really, really want? And now, it's no longer a want. Now it's a need. What is it that I need out of this? Yes, I know what I want. But what do I need? And congratulations, you're on step two. Recognizing the need for change. Have a good night.